Carlos Alcaraz just won his second consecutive major title and the fourth Grand Slam of his already illustrious career. He's become the fifth player, male or female, to win their first four Grand Slam finals and the fifth man in history to beat Djokovic in straight sets at a Grand Slam final. Is it too early to call him the GOAT? Okay, obviously I'm joking, but it's not that far-fetched to say that in 10 to 12 years, at his current pace, Carlitos will certainly be part of those conversations. In the meantime, though, he's enjoying every moment and not letting his achievements get to his head. But just how good was Carlos Alcaraz this tournament, and how did this year's performance compare to last year's title run? We're going to quickly recap Carlos's Wimbledon performance and analyze everything that went into his second title at the All England Club, plus delve into what's next for the Spanish star. Jannik Sinner is the world number one, but Carlos Alcaraz may be the actual best player in the world right now. Prior to winning his third Grand Slam title in Paris, the only bright spot in Alcaraz's season was a title at Indian Wells in March. Don't get me wrong, a Masters 1000 title is a big deal, but the Spaniard's season was still not going to plan. After winning Roland Garros, Alcaraz was officially back. He couldn't defend his title at Queen's Club, but he still brought that championship mentality into Wimbledon, and he was eager to return to center court to defend his title. Carlos only played 2 matches on grass this season leading into Wimbledon, so it would have been completely normal to see him take a round or two to get reacclimated to the surface. In the first round, he faced a qualifier from Estonia, Mark Lajal. Lajal was making his Grand Slam debut and had plenty of confidence coming into the match. I give him a lot of credit for backing up his confidence and pushing the number 3 seed in the first 2 sets on one of the biggest stages in sports, no less. Ultimately, experience won out in this one, and Carlitos won the match in straight sets, 7-6, 7-5, 6-2, as he moved one step closer to defending his title. Serious question. Do you guys think I could pull off Lajal's hairstyle? Alcaraz's second round match against Alexander Vukic seemed to be an even more comfortable match for him than the first round. Vukic kept things competitive in the first set, taking things to a tiebreak. However, after securing the tiebreak, Carlitos only dropped a handful of games, and his 42 winners and an 82% first serve win percentage were enough to safely get him through to the third round in straight sets. 7-6, 6-2, 6-2 your final there. But things were about to get a whole lot more difficult. Carlitos' third round opponent, Frances Tiafoe, hasn't had a great year. Like, at all. Entering Wimbledon, Frances had a losing record and hadn't won back-to-back matches since his Houston final run in April. Even though he was the 29th seed, it was surprising to see the American in the third round. Despite all of this, one thing we know about Big Foe is that he always shows up for big matches like this. These two played an epic 5-setter in the US Open semis a couple years ago, and this time around was no different. Tiafoe played some inspired tennis and took the first set 7-5, and don't get me wrong, the upset alarm bells started to ring for me. Carlitos quickly leveled things, winning the second set 6-2, but Frances wouldn't go away, rallying to win the third set 6-4 and take a 2-1 lead. The world number 3 was now on the ropes, but as champions do, Alcaraz found a way. After capitalizing on some mistakes from the American, Carlos took the tiebreak and then ran away with the 5th set, managing to escape the upset bid and advance to the second week. Barely. For those of you who don't know, Ugo Humbert is in the midst of his best season on the ATP Tour. He's won 2 titles this year and was in the 4th round of a Grand Slam for the second time in his career, both coming at Wimbledon. However, Carlos didn't seem too troubled by the French lefty in the first 2 sets, breaking Humbert twice in the opening set and once in the second, while also saving all 4 of the breakpoints he faced, taking the sets 6-2 and 6-4. The third set, though, is where things really started to get interesting. Ugo was able to completely change the momentum and broke Carlitos 3 times while not facing a single breakpoint himself to take the set 6-1. Both players were playing well in the 4th while trading multiple breaks in the set before Alcaraz was able to pull away, winning the set 7-5, setting up a meeting with another upset-minded American in the quarterfinals. Tommy Paul is another player in the midst of a career-best year. Tommy is someone who can match Carlitos in terms of physicality, so this was never going to be an easy match for Alcaraz. Paul rose to the occasion, taking the first set 7-5 and immediately breaking Carlos in the second. The number 3 seed managed to get the break right back and added another break of his own, eventually closing out the set 6-4. Alcaraz looked more like himself in the 3rd and 4th sets, winning each 6-2, 6-2. Next up for Alcaraz wasn't the world number 1 Jannik Sinner, but Daniil Medvedev. Medvedev came into the semi-final matchup with plenty of confidence after taking out the number 1 seed Jannik Sinner in the previous round. The first set was a bit of a roller coaster, with Medi taking a 5-2 lead before Carlitos fought back to force a tiebreak. Daniil regained his momentum in the tiebreak, winning it 7-1. But after that, Alcaraz once again flipped a switch and was only broken one more time throughout the next 3 sets to take the match in 4, 6-7, 6-3, 6-4, 6-4. Carlitos ended the match with 24 more winners than his opponent and a 73% first serve win percentage, compared to 66% for Medvedev. This win and Djokovic's win over Musetti set up a much anticipated rematch of last year's 5-set final, but who would come out on top this time? And now we found ourselves with a much anticipated finals rematch. Novak Djokovic was recovering from knee surgery just about a month before Wimbledon started. Fast forward to now, and he was in another Grand Slam final looking for his 8th Wimbledon title and a 25th major title overall. Unreal. On the other side of the net was Alcaraz, 16 years younger than Djokovic, and already looking for his 4th Grand Slam title, something Novak couldn't say himself at 21. With all that being said, Carlos was the one who looked like the seasoned vet in this matchup. Despite an extended opening game, Alcaraz raced through the opening 2 sets, winning them 6-2, 6-2, and it looked like the trophy was in reach. It got even closer in the third, with Carlitos up 5-4 and 40-love on his serve. But we all knew that Novak wasn't going to go down without a fight. He saved 3 championship points and managed to get the set to a tiebreak. In past years, this is usually where Djokovic would flip the script and completely turn the match around to win in 5, but we have to remember that even Novak is human and he isn't getting any younger. Carlos looked fully locked in the tiebreak and took the set and the match, successfully defending his title and further cementing his place in tennis history.
Game, set, match.
But just how good was Carlitos this week? Let's take a look at his stats. In my recent Jannik Sinner Wimbledon recap, I talked about his in-attack stat. Just a quick refresher, the in-attack stat essentially shows how often a player is hitting an aggressive shot. Being in aggressive positions more often than not in a match is very important, especially when it comes to grass court tennis. Now, at this year's Wimbledon, the in-attack tournament average percentage for men was about 30%, and Alcaraz averaged 24% through 7 matches. Even though his number is below average, it's not actually that surprising. Carlos is so good defensively and isn't always the one dictating play. He's crafty and uses his athleticism to get out of tough situations. In fact, other than the first 2 rounds, Alcaraz had a lower in-attack percentage than his opponent. The biggest gap in that percentage came in the final, with Carlitos at 23% and Novak at 32%. The in-attack stat is useful, but still doesn't tell us the whole story of how good Alcaraz was at this tournament, so let's look at another metric that Wimbledon kept track of. Wimbledon and IBM also kept track of a stat called shot quality. This stat kept track of each player's return, serve, forehand, and backhand stats, and then scored them on a scale of 0 to 10. These numbers are calculated in real time by analyzing the speed, spin, depth, width, and impact of the shot being hit. AI is also able to recognize that different shots require a different combination of these factors, and that there are different ways to create high-quality shots. Now, as you would expect, the data shows that higher quality shots increase the probability of a player winning a point. Starting with the serve, Alcaraz's rating for the tournament was 8.1. Meanwhile, the tournament average for this stat was 7.9. In fact, Carlitos had higher numbers than the tournament average in all 4 categories, with an 8.1 score on the return, 8.7 for forehands, and 8.2 for backhands. The tournament averages for these stats were 6.5, 7.5, and 7.2 respectively. These numbers no doubt contributed to his dominant performance in the final, but let's take a deeper look at what really made the match so one-sided. Grass is a surface that rewards great serving, returning, and overall aggressive play. Alcaraz is known to struggle at times against attacking tennis, and Novak was no doubt going to try and expose this weakness. We just talked about shot quality and its role in determining how likely a player is to win a match based on their shot quality stats. Interestingly, coming into the final, Novak had either equal or better numbers than Alcaraz. How would these numbers shift as the match went on? Well, the biggest improvement for Carlitos came on the return. The Spaniard upped his return quality to an astounding 9.1. Meanwhile, Djokovic was trying to expose the out-wide forehand return of Alcaraz, but Carlos adapted well by blocking most of the returns that came to his forehand on the deuce side. Alcaraz's great numbers didn't end with the return, though. Throughout the match, he had a significant edge in first serve points won too. In fact, his first serve win percentage was on average 27% higher than Novak's in the first two sets. The Joker matched Carlitos in this category in the third set, but the damage had already been done. The second serve points won told a similar story, with Alcaraz winning 51% for the match and Djokovic only 40%. Carlos also showcased his elite net game, winning 73% of his net points and hitting 42 winners in total, a +18 margin in winners to unforced errors. So how do these numbers compare to last year's final? Let's take a look. Starting with the serve, last year Novak managed to win 62% of his first serve points and 56% on his second serve. On the other side, Carlitos won 70% of his first serves and 50% on his second. The edge in first serve points won in both years was a deciding factor in the outcome of the match. Carlos won 40% of his return points last year, while Novak managed 37%. This year, Alcaraz had an even bigger advantage in this category, winning 42% of his return points compared to just 29% for Djokovic. As for net points, Djokovic had the edge last year, winning 32 out of 48 points up the net, good for 67%. Alcaraz wasn't far behind though, winning 64% of his net points. The margins were much thinner last year, and that final was truly when Carlos announced his arrival among the game's elites. This year, Carlos proved to himself and everybody else that his maturity rivals that of even the tour's most savvy veterans. Sure, you can point out that Novak wasn't at his best physically with his knee, but even Djokovic himself wouldn't use that as an excuse for losing. He had nothing but nice things to say in his post-match press conference.
Carlos deserved this win today. He was a better player. I was inferior on the court, that's it. You know, he was a better player. He played every single shot better than I did.
Carlos was equally as gracious in his post-match presser when talking about Djokovic.
Still believing that Novak is a Superman, because what he has done in this tournament with a surgery just a few weeks before the tournament began, it is amazing, it is unbelievable.
Alcaraz also addressed all the history he's been making lately.
I try not to think about it too much, obviously, but I have to keep going. I have to keep building my path. At the end of my career, I want to sit at the same table as the big guys.
Carlos was the better player in the big moments last year, and it was the same case this time around. He's a generational talent, and it wouldn't surprise me to see him catch or even surpass Novak's Grand Slam record. But that's a topic for another video. Carlos was among the best in a few stat categories throughout the tournament. He finished the tournament with 63 aces, ranking him 5th among players with at least 4 matches played. Side note, the leader in that category, Giovanni Mpetshi Perricard, had 115 aces in 4 matches. That's almost 30 per match. Should we do a deep dive on him soon? Let me know. Back to Alcaraz, he topped the charts on first serve receiving points won, second in second serve return points won, number 1 in break points won, and he also had the 3rd fastest serve of the tournament at 136 miles per hour. Another interesting stat that I found is that Carlitos is the first player since Marin Cilic to win a men's Grand Slam final without winning a set 6-love or 6-1. Putting that stat into more perspective, this ended a streak of 37 consecutive slams where the winner won at least one 6-love or 6-1 set. The now 2-time Wimbledon champ has plenty to look forward to for the rest of the summer, including continuing to make history and potentially getting back to that number 1 ranking. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, Alcaraz is only the 5th player in tennis history to begin their Grand Slam final record at 4-0, and one of only 5 men to beat Novak Djokovic in straight sets in a Slam final. Also, the 10 games won by Djokovic was the 2nd lowest total he ever claimed in a Grand Slam final. With 4 titles before the age of 22, Carlos Alcaraz has already won more Grand Slams than Djokovic, Federer, and Nadal at that age. So crazy to remember how young he is and how much time he still has left in his career. Carlitos is no doubt looking forward to returning to Paris in a few weeks for the Olympics. He'll be the favorite to take home the gold medal in singles, and he'll partner with his idol Rafa Nadal in the doubles event. Alcaraz takes a lot of pride in representing Spain, and that will fuel him, but could also add some extra pressure. How do you guys think he'll do? Will we see him on the podium? The summer hardcourt swing didn't result in any titles for Alcaraz last season, but he did have some impressive tournament runs. The quarterfinals in Canada, the finals in Cincy, and the semifinals at the US Open are all 2023 results that can be improved on. I don't see Wimbledon being his last title of the year like it was last year, but there will be some other players that are going to have something to say about that, so it should be an exciting summer for us fans. Post-Wimbledon, Carlitos occupies the number 3 spot, and he's just 330 points behind Djokovic at number 2, and just under 1,500 points behind current world number 1 Jannik Sinner. Djokovic has the most points to lose between now and the end of the year, and Jannik also has 3 titles to defend himself before the ATP Finals. Alcaraz has a really good opportunity to get the number 1 ranking back and finish as year-end number 1 for the second time in his career. Last season, the bulk of Alcaraz's success came at the beginning of the season, and he struggled a bit after the US Open, going 7-5 in the final stretch. Now, I think that Carlos has fully regained his motivation to play, and he's refined his goals after achieving so much success so quickly. Look for him to pick up a couple more titles this year, and do it with a smile while playing relaxed and enjoyable tennis that's going to be really fun to watch. Carlos Alcaraz once again proved that he's one of the best players in the world with his second consecutive Wimbledon title. He has so much poise and maturity on the court that it's honestly easy to forget sometimes that he's just 21 years old. Carlitos is a champion on and off the court, and I am so excited to see what the rest of this year will bring for him. We are so lucky as fans to be witnessing his rise in real time alongside Jannik Sinner, Daniil Medvedev, and the game's other young stars. Until next time, keep going for the lines.